Oh. Hi, it's Stacy and Tom. How are you?
Creators of Lisa on Love, and here we are for another Friday at 4:45, talking about relationship and relationship and relationship and relationship.
Yeah, place you come for inspiration, to get prepared to meet that special someone as you're winding up your work week on Fridays at 4, to go home and hopefully spend some time with a special someone in your life. So we're going to jump right into our topic today. Our topic is a continuation of our conversation around the concept of vulnerability. And I encourage you, if you haven't already, check out our Friday at 4, dated April 2nd. Sorry, that's May 2nd. Huh.
It's May 2nd today, so yeah.
Yeah, April 2nd. And it will be the initial conversation. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I have the date right, but
the last one.
The last one that we did in April will have the continuation. I should have looked that up. I apologize. Of our conversation, our initial conversation on vulnerability. And what we jumped into was how that plays out in our relationships and the importance of vulnerability in our lives. And truly, as human beings, that's what we want. And I'm going to repeat the quote that I did in our last Friday at 4 from one of my coming authors, soon to be one of my favorites, I'm sure, Brene Brown. And I have just recently, I know surprisingly, I've just recently learned about Brene Brown and started investigating a lot of her work and resonate with it so much so. And that one of the recommendations that I encourage you to pick up around this topic of vulnerability is, again, her book called Daring Greatly. And it talks about vulnerability in all aspects of your life. And wanting to pick up her concepts and topics and bring them into a focus around our relationships itself. And her quote is so powerful, and it says, vulnerability is the core, the heart, the center of meaningful human experience. When we talk about romantic interactions with that significant something, that is the ultimate that we all strive for of human experience. That if we can create an incredible experience here with my significant other, I can create an incredible life. And I personally have found that to be true. And I know if I nudge Tom really, really hard, he's going to agree with me that regardless of what's spinning around you in your life, if you can go back to this significant person who holds so much love and support and encouragement, i.e. vulnerability for you, where you can go and truly be authentic, fully express, share it all from the bottom of your heart, and know that regardless of what goes down, they're going to be there to love you and help you pick up the pieces, or just simply breathe with you. You can weather everything else that you have to address in life. It's significant. So the vulnerability, the ability to be vulnerable in your significant relationship, to go to that place when you really need to be fortified, or just because, is a very, very powerful, sustaining force. It's one of the greatest, or I would say the greatest force that we have in the universe is love. And love between a partner, a significant partner, and ourselves is the most powerful force in the universe. Anything you want to say about that? Because I've been rambling since we started.
You have. I would assert that vulnerability, personally speaking, again, is when we share, the sharing is always most profound for the people that are sharing, me included. Absolutely is. Vulnerability, I think, is even more challenging when perhaps you're going through some rough spots, inevitably, that we partnerships do. That's when, for me, my way of managing is I become more recluse, more introverted, more quiet, less willing to share, clam up. You know, perhaps that's a male to not be chauvinistic, but maybe, you know, that coat of armor where you just bear down and get her done. So I would encourage all of us in those times. Vulnerability is even more profound, more incredibly necessary and connective, and the payoff is tremendous and will deepen your relationship with your significant partner if you have the courage and the ability to move through that, maybe that first behavioral instinct, and raise above and program a new behavioral reaction and response to that, and choose to really share with your partner. You know, this really stinks, or this is what I'm working with. Please, you know, Again, this is my way of, this is when I become really, really probably as challenged in this area as any time.
So in shall we say, session 1 of vulnerability, we covered 5 of 10 things that we can personally do to help us further step into this concept and these ideas of vulnerability. And I want to just maybe go over them again briefly, the first 5, and then we're going to dive deep into the second 5 items that we can do, again, to just practice being vulnerable in our relationship. You know?
Number 1, letting go
of what your partner thinks and how you think it needs to look and who you should be in the relationship. There is nothing more beautiful than just being beautiful you. Number 2,
perfectionism.
Self-compassion. You're never going to get it all done. You're never going to get it all right.
Never going to get it all figured out.
No, and so you need to give yourself the permission to just try and explore and experience, and then
just be. Just be. Number 3, I can't read your powerlessness.
Powerlessness. When we feel powerless, we need to learn where to go to revitalize ourselves and come back with a sense of resiliency. Just because we fall down, just because we skin our knee, doesn't mean that we don't have the skill, the know-how, the resources to figure this out.
Well, and just speaking on my sharing, if you're a person that prides yourself in being, able to navigate most that life presents us and throws at us, if you ever, and we all do invariably, when we get to that point where we have that momentary feeling of powerlessness, that's the time to be vulnerable and ask your partner for some support. For gosh sakes, I mean, what greater time? And that can be a new experience of vulnerability. And you think, gosh, that really wasn't that hard. And what a gift for someone to throw you the life preserver or the lifeline or whatever we want to metaphorically call it. We all need an occasional lifeline. I do. But man, I have a heck of a time asking for it sometimes. Number 4, certainty. Oh, excuse me. Number 4, scarcity.
Scarcity and fear. Afraid that we're not enough, that there's not enough, that I can't do it right, that I don't deserve this relationship, or all the modicums of fear and scarcity that we build up in living our relationship lives. And giving yourself the permission to simply be grateful for what you have and find joy in what you have, wherever you are in your relationship. Sometimes we become so paralyzed by, oh my gosh, we're going through a difficult time right now, or I'm feeling upset right now, or I'm challenged in my work life and it's trickling into my relationship. The thing that you need to know is you can always reset the clock if you can just go back to being grateful. I am so grateful for you, and I know I've been working a lot, or I know that the kids are taking a lot of my time. Well, that seems to be a good one for us. But I love you, and I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for us, and I'm grateful for what we've created, and I'm so joyful when we get to do that, or I need more of this, Kind of goes back to taking responsibility instead of giving and allowing ourselves to just spiral into a place of fear and scarcity. Oh my gosh, there's not enough time. I can't do this right. I'm not doing it right. Not enough. I can't show up the way that he or she needs me to. That goes nowhere good. So we want to remember gratitude and joy to counterbalance the scarcity and fear feelings that might be coming up in your relationship. Want to read number 5?
Number 5 was what I read previously, is need for certainty.
And the certainty is never available. Very, very, very limited time. Even if certainty is something that you feel in the moment, it's something that will always avail you, and you will always be challenged to go back to a place that I like to call your intuition and trusting yourself. Trusting that you knew what you knew then, and that's why you made the choice and the decision to be where you are now, and you can trust that. You can hang your hat on it, because there's going to be those moments where you kind of go, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Oh my gosh, what was I doing? Oh my gosh. And I can go back to, no, I had this experience. I knew in that moment my intuition told me was absolutely right on. And I can go back and I can hang my hat on that, and I can trust myself in making that decision. So intuition in your partnership individually, and intuition into your partner, and trusting your partnership and what you've created, and trusting yourself are huge pieces of vulnerability. Trust has to be present in order for you to be fully expressed. And it's something that you're constantly working on. It's something that you're constantly building. It's not something that just is. And just a side note about trust, because it's something that I'm very passionate about and I work a lot with in my mediation practice for divorce, is that's what's broken down when couples finally get to the place where they can't do their relationship anymore and they come into my office frustrated and confused and sad, and saying, we need to make some changes. And what's happened is the trust has completely broken down to a place where they have no place to build from. So trust is a daily practice. Trust is something that you're constantly demonstrating to your partner. Trust is something that you might be apologizing for quite a bit too. You know, I'm sorry I let you down there. I'm sorry I overstepped that. I'm sorry I didn't see that. Please forgive me, and this is what I'm going to do, demonstration-wise, to show you that I'm all in. So, and then trusting that intuition in your partner, and you get a sense of each other, and you know that you're both pulling and trying and searching and reaching. And that's what makes relationships good. Trusting your intuition about yourself, your partner, and your trust.
And I would say that it seems to be, trust is something that evolves over time and
or doesn't.
Or doesn't, but hopefully it does with time and comfort and vulnerability with your partners, and so that takes time to develop and feel like you're in a groove of trust, in a place of trust, and it also seems to be, it can be easily lost, hopefully temporarily. So give it the reverence and respect that it deserves. Because if you have that and you know it, there's really nothing that can shake you from that. But it seems to be that it builds on itself over experiences and times and situations, and also can be lost temporarily, hopefully, or maybe not temporarily, you know, with a significant situation, perhaps it wasn't navigated in the way that you hoped had worked out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And a super tip in regards to trust, because that is so significant. I'm sure all of you have an intuitive sense of how significant trust is in your relationship. A super tip is that you can always rebound from trust, but you have to demonstrate it. Trust is something that we demonstrate. It's not something that we talk about. And we're all going to make mistakes in regards to trust issues. But just begin again. Get back on the horse. Take responsibility for it. Take ownership of it. This is where I blew it, and this is what I'm going to do to make it right. And then demonstrate those types of things. Our partnerships are the easiest to blow off. They're the easiest for us to say, oh, they'll be there when I get home tonight. They'll be there. They'll forgive me. They'll let that go. That, you know, we're married. You know, he or she has to be around. You know, and we get pressured at work. We get pressured with family. We get pressured with other responsibilities, and it's so easy to blow our partner off. Typically, that's what I see, and yet we don't understand that on the backside there's this constant degrade of trust and accountability that's taking place on the backside. And you don't want that to get too depleted to where you start putting it in, you know? And then trust can be built in the reverse of that, you know, showing up early, giving more, demonstrating more, not only saying or doing what you said you were going to do, but doing beyond, you know? And that all demonstrates you can count on me, I'm here for you, you're important in my life, I value you. All of those kinds of things that you can do in a demonstration mode as opposed to a speaking mode are so powerful if you're in a place that you're needing to rebuild trust in your relationship. It's the demonstration that makes all the difference. It's not the words. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. That could be about 4 or 5 Fridays at 4, and we'll certainly come back around at some point in time and talk about the value of trust. But I want to make sure that we get to the next 5 of vulnerability, and then I think what we'll do with, you know, ongoing Fridays at 4 is we will take these and go deeper into each one of these 10, because each of them are a Friday at 4 in and of themselves. So number 6 is my favorite.
Comparison.
Yes. Comparison is where we start comparing ourselves with our partner and with others.
Or other partnerships.
Other partnerships. And we start going, our partnership's not like that. Honey, you don't do that. Honey, you don't talk to me like that. Honey, you don't bring me gifts like that. You didn't buy me a new car. Honey, you. Or it can be self-sabotaging as well. Of, oh my gosh, my partner is so superior than I am in this area. And maybe I'm not enough to hold their love. Maybe I'm not enough to hold their attention. Or maybe they could have done better. All of those are conversations that go on in our heads in those quiet moments where they are not serving us and they are not good for us. And they are going to take us places that are not healthy for us to spend a lot of time. And although we're human beings and we are going to go there, as much as you can, I would encourage you to take yourself out of those, catch yourself. It's how we practice getting better, is we go, oh my gosh, I'm having those thoughts again, I'll share a personal one so that you can identify with what I'm saying. Tom loves to get up early in the morning. I personally think it sucks, to say mildly. I could say a whole lot more about that, but I'm not an early morning person. He is. And I'm now getting to a place where I don't feel like I have to beat myself up for not getting up when he does, because he's an early morning riser and I'm not. There was a story in my head that would play out that would say, oh my God, if he's getting up, then I should get up. And if I can't do that, then I don't work as hard, or I don't give enough, or I don't contribute enough, or my work ethic isn't as strong as his, or that kind of thing. So I'm comparing myself to what works for him and not honoring what works for me and how I can be the most productive. And in the process, all I'm doing is creating a whole lot of blame and beat up. The thing that we need to understand is that we are all incredibly creative, wired, powerful human beings. And we all know and have innate within us the ability to create anything that we want in our lives. And when we don't honor that, that's when we create problems. That's when we create invalidation. That's when we create upset. So there is no value ever, 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 and I'm telling this to myself as well as sharing it with all of you, that comparing yourself to anyone or anything is nothing more or short of being absolutely destructive.
And Stacy, typically always when I get up early, the first thing I say is, don't worry about getting up. This is just, I'm up. I want to get up. I don't lay around. I'm ready to go. I don't care if she doesn't get up. I just want to get up and get some stuff done. Makes no difference to me whether she's getting it. We all have our own style and times of day that are best, and I've been getting up early for 30 years. It's just, if I sleep past 6, it's a wonder.
Yes, and so that's just a wonderful example of the conversation is always within yourself.
Yeah, I could care less.
If I say that to him and say, my gosh, honey, I feel like this, and he'd go, what are you thinking? I don't think that when I get up.
I'm just getting up because that serves me best, and I want to get the house is quiet, I can get some things done.
Right.
But it doesn't, I could care less.
So, comparison, again, was number 6. Not a good idea. Never serves us if you find yourself comparing. Now, inspiring is different.
Yes.
And that's the opposite of comparison. If you find somebody who has some qualities, or even in your partner, there's qualities about them that inspire you to want to become a better human being, and then you strive for those, that is not comparison. That is observation. That is observing somebody doing something that inspires you to change. And that's a beautiful thing. Comparing is when you get into the conversation like I just demonstrated of, oh God, he's getting up at 5 a.m. Can you believe people get up that early? 5 a.m. and I'm going to sleep till 7. And he gets up at 5, and it's my story where I start to go, well, at least if you were really, really productive and a hard worker, you'd get up at 5. But him, it's my story. He could care less whether I get up at 5. And so that's a wonderful example of just comparing yourself. Tap into your own creativity. Tap into your own abilities. Tap into what it is that makes you productive and heart-seen. If it's sleeping until noon and working until 3 a.m., do that. Serve yourself. We all have an innate clock. We all have an innate ability to be us. And in our partnerships, we tend to not really step in and be fully expressed so that we can experience the vulnerability that's there for us because we compare ourselves to our partner. So be inspired, yes. Comparing, no.
Remember, too, inspiration, I don't remember where I heard this, but inspiration is in spirit with. So there's no I don't hear any
Better
part.
than.
Any part of that is to make you angry. No, it's so if it's in spirit if it's inspiring you to take on a quality perhaps you've not considered, well then use it in that regard, but not certainly from a place of self beat up and all that.
Shame.
Yeah, there's no value there.
Belittling. Yeah. That's how you know you're in comparison mode, and what you need to do is go, hey, whoa, wait a minute, put in the clutch. I show up in my relationship here. I'm just teaching you a counterbalance. I show up in my relationship here. I contribute here. I'm worthy of this. This is how I know. Go back to what prompted you to get into the relationship in the first place.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Exhaustion. Oh.
As a
status symbol.
And
productivity.
As
self-worth. Do you think there's some hinting here on this one? I come from a lineage of unbelievable, hardworking family members. It's predisposed in my DNA. So this one is, Stacy just took a lot of personal ownership on the last one. This is one, be careful to not have that as your badge of honor. You know, they make statues out of people that do that, and I would like to see a statue of a person that works 5 hours a week and out-earns you by 100-fold. Again, there are examples of everything, but literally when I do come to bed sometimes, I literally am exhausted. Some of you know, as this work progresses and continues to become a greater part of our lives, I also am a real estate appraiser, which is very, very intense, very high time demands, very high demands of every kind. And it's a lot, and it's not really my passion at this point. I'm grateful for it, but I'm ready to move into this body of work 100% of the time. So I do sometimes come to bed exhausted. I mean, I'm grateful that I do have a good, strong work ethic. There's nothing wrong with that, but for gosh sakes, I would advocate do it in a place where you are so inspired, where you lose track of the time and all the things that we know about when you're truly in your art and creativity and things like that.
Yeah. So, you know, we all know, perhaps you're married to one, the people that go, oh, I just worked 24 hours or 28 hours in my day, and they use it as a symbol of I'm good, I'm worthy, I have self-worth, I contribute, I do enough. And they use it as a symbol or a status symbol, and instead what they're missing out on, and the counterbalance to that, is rest and play. How many of us as adults have forgotten, absolutely forgotten, how to play? Or, in the spirit of the Italians, the art of doing nothing, sitting and being. And we are not good at that in our society. The Europeans have that one down pat. The Italians are experts and masters at it, the art of doing nothing. It's so important to them in their culture that they intentionally make time for it on a regular basis. We here in the Americas view our status symbol and our self-worth as we are exhausted states of productivity, and they're symbols of our self-worth and our ability to create and do and amass, and everything in our lives, including our relationships, will suffer. And play, I love the quote that says, I said play, but the quote that says, laughter is the shortest distance between connecting two human beings. And I so believe that. I'm such a proponent of play and laughter, because that takes us to a place of vulnerability. When people laugh, they become a little more vulnerable. And I believe that that's the place that allows us to truly connect. So the more play, rest, and laughter that we have in our significant relationships as a consistent component, not that it's there every second of every day, but it is a consistent component that feeds your relationship, is so, so, so powerful.
And many times, or not many times, but certainly sometimes, our observation, and I'm sure that would be similar for you out there, is perhaps one person in the partnership is perhaps more productivity run and driven, you know, and one person is not. Stacy's the fun coach by far and away, tremendous influence on me. So it's not that anyone is better or worse, or it's not about that. It's just about bringing balance and the whole experience, so it doesn't get so lopsided. If that's one of the dynamics of your relationship, just really make sure that you really listen to the other person that wants to bring some of that introspective qualities of fun and rest and laughter and things like that. It refreshes me unbelievably. I mean, but sometimes getting me to that point is like, my gosh, it's an act of I don't know.
He wiggles.
Yeah, kicking
wiggles.
and screaming and all the stuff you do as a little kid, but it's like, well, what is that about?
So
I know.
How come we don't do that more?
So, more FYI, more observation from our own, make sure that we honor the other attributes of our partner, especially if those ones that we know, when we can get really truly honest with ourselves that, yes, that is wonderful, and take it on, really take it on and try it on and be 100% with it. And my experience is it's like, why did I have so much resistance to something that provides so much unique expression and value to my life?
Yeah, absolutely. And number 8 is right on the heels of that, and it's
anxiety as a lifestyle.
Yeah. We have become so expert in living in this state of perpetual worry and anxiety in our daily lives about getting the bills paid and getting the kids and taking care of college and saving for retirement and on and on and on.
Starting a new business.
And that there are absolute benefits where you just need to be calm and still with each other, and calm and still with inside yourself. And so, very important for you and your partner to independently take quiet time every single day and be with yourself, feel your feelings, be aware of your thoughts. And that will bring such value to your space as a couple and provide deeper levels of vulnerability when you take the anxiety out. You can't truly be with another person when you're reeling on the inside.
You can't even be with yourself.
Sometimes you can't even be with yourself. You can't even stand your own thoughts and feelings, let alone be present and engaged with another human being.
So it's setting you're fertilizing the environment to allow all these 10 points. They're just wonderful reminders and tenets to allow true connection, true intimacy into me, you see, intimacy. So these are all just points to where, if we're not careful, will give us no opportunity for true connection and vulnerability. It really is. And if we're, anxious, and just think about how when you say that word, what that does to your chemistry of your body. Mm. Versus when you have a nice sip of wine, like we typically, part of our Fridays at 4, we take on the European mindset. This is our little siesta. We love coming together with all of us on these. And it's wonderful, but just contrast the difference just in your own body chemistry.
And you say the very word anxiety.
Anxiety versus ease and flow and connection and intimacy.
And calm and still. And the funny thing is in those moments where we can just kind of exhale a little bit. I know there's some statistic that I can't remember right now. There's a high percentage of us that get these incredible epiphanies when we step into the shower in the morning, like to take a shower. We have the hot water beating down on us, or we step into the tub. And I ascertain that it's because those are the moments where, for a brief second, we're more focused on the feeling in our bodies and that feels so good. And then it's, I got it. Oh my gosh! And so, if we could learn the power and the gifts that are available to us for contribution into our lives, and we could just be still and allow ourselves to exhale and let go of the anxiety for a minute, there is a whole world out there that we could live in, a whole space and a whole space of experiences that we could embrace in our lives more and more and more, when we can just let the circumstances go and be more present with what's truly going on inside of our bodies right now.
Well, in our bodies, and then the whole, to get quantum, we've been studying with a wonderful man, Trevor Blake, 3 Simple Steps, and incredible body of work. But there is so much out there meaning in the other modalities and such that you cannot really access all those fields of possibility unless you, certainly not when you're anxious. I think it's fair to say that's not going to happen.
Well, and just an FYI, anxiousness is something that really drives us into any form of an addiction. So if you're constantly feeling anxious, one of the body's tendencies is to diminish that feeling at all costs, under any circumstances. The body wants to be in a natural state, and that's where it functions best, is in a place of still and calm. And when it cannot get there with self-management, it will seek and drive to places where it can get that kind of relief, albeit just for a moment. So this is the place where addiction is created. It's shopping addiction, sex addiction, any kind of addiction, food addiction, any kind of something that will, for a moment, give the body the relief it needs to just, like
take a breath.
In a shower.
Yeah, take a breath.
Because for that brief moment, the digestion works, the heart beats slower, the blood can flow, the mind can settle. It's so important to our health. And so just be aware that, if you're in a place and your partner you're noticing is in incredible amounts of anxiety, it's important that you create awareness and a conversation around it, because it does lead to other things. The body does need to just go to function properly, and if we can't consciously give that to ourselves, then it will create some kind of something it craves in order to give that to ourselves. The body loves us so much that it's going to help us obtain, it doesn't have any judgment as to what's good or bad, it's going to help us obtain whatever it needs to be whole and healthy and function in the moment.
Well, and the body's purely the manifestation physically of what's going on internally. I mean, again, that's proven scientifically. So, yes, be mindful, and if hopefully there is the space between you and your partner, that if you're noticing, obviously many times our partners can bring things up to us that, again, presentation is everything. Perhaps something that we know but we don't want to acknowledge, and if it's presented in a loving way, it can be a huge aha. Gosh, you know what, you're right. But again, I would encourage all of us to remember that, again, presentation, approach, honoring the individual, not, pointing the finger simply from a place of wanting to bring up something that you're observing that's perhaps inhibiting the space of the collection of the two of you, and it can lead to some huge breakthroughs that otherwise you may just continue to muddle along and be anxious and exhausted and all the things we talked about.
You cannot connect with somebody who's anxious.
No,
internally.
You can't.
They need to be present in order to have true connection play out. So, calm and still. So,
number nine, self-doubt.
And supposed to.
Gosh.
So, supposed to is all those things that...
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, yada, yada, yada.
Yep. And self-doubt keeps us from really doing meaningful work. Self-doubt is what keeps us doing the same thing and thinking that at some point in time we get hopeful there'll be a different result. So this makes me think of a wonderful conversation that is up in our space right now from a mastermind group that we participate in. And we had a wonderful conversation last night in our mastermind group about creating a different result takes paying attention to the things that don't make any noise. So what that refers to is it's really easy for us to keep the appointments that we have on the agenda, answer the phone call. It's really easy for us to take care of those things while we leave what really needs to be addressed for true change on the backside. And how this results to self-doubt is if you are in self-doubt about meaningful work, a meaningful life,
a meaningful partnership.
A meaningful partnership, then it's very difficult to step into that, and what you tend to do is just continue to take care of the things that are screaming in your life because you have this self-doubt that's being validated instead of stepping into something that really speaks to you, but you have all this self-doubt about your ability to do it and complete it and be strong and master it. And the thing that we forget is that we can't master it until we step in and overstep the self-doubt of the situation. It's impossible for us to master anything until we're in it, doing it. We don't ever sit around and wait until we're good at it and then get to step in. We get to step in and then get good at it.
And it's going to be different, and change and something different is interesting for all of us to navigate. It's exhilarating, but it's also frightening. It's fearful. It's different. Change is change, and it's whatever we give to that word and experience. Change isn't bad and change isn't good. It's just change. But a lot of us, we have interesting connotations to change. And sometimes, man, we will do everything in our power not to deal with that change, yet that's the thing that we say, and I think really believe and know that is best for us. But like Stacy said, until we choose to step into it. So maybe rearrange that and do the things that are most important for you and your partner first before all the change the order. You know, as many of you know, we have an amazing amount of moving parts around us in our life with our family and children and grandchildren, and it's every day might be an interesting experience for you all to really know what's navigating. And I don't say that to brag. I just say, so we all have that, whatever it is for us, and we're navigating. At this point of our life, Stacy and I are newly connected. At least at this experience, we think we were probably arranged at some other level for a long time because of all our surreal synergies and that. But at this point of our journey, life journey, when we're at this age, I'm 35, Stacy's 50. No, I'm just kidding. No. We're going to have a lot of other parts to it versus when we were in our 20s. Let's just be honest. So there's more things to navigate, more pressures, more responsibilities, more people that love and need us perhaps at a time when we can maybe put what we need for us off and take care of that first. And we're saying, to the best of our ability, invert the order.
Well, and step over the self-doubt about, you know, can I do this? Can I create this? And this self-doubt really plays big into vulnerability, because that is the thing that will keep you from stepping into vulnerability. And you'll be able to, if you take us up on our frolic, you'll be able to step into that and really sense what I'm talking about here as far as
tough frolic for me, Don.
It will bring up this element of
tough frolic for me.
It will bring up anxiety.
Yeah,
it will bring up some of these things, and it is a blast if you can just let yourself really step into it. But if you think about it as adults, as I had alluded to earlier, we forget the ability to play. It's because the self-doubt about being fully expressed and whether I'm going to be accepted or look silly or be goofy is playing out in our heads so strong that we can't step over the self-doubt to reap the benefit of just being us, being playful, being silly, and it's okay that it isn't beautiful and perfect. And so I'll share more with you about the frolic, but it will bring up self-doubt, and it's okay. Step over the self-doubt. It's what we have to do to create anything meaningful in our lives, or to make change occur in our lives, is we have to step over the self-doubt. Anytime you're doing something for the first time, self-doubt is going to rear its head and say, are you sure you want to do that? You know, you might fail. You might fall down. You might look silly. You might get goofed. You might get laughed at. You might. And you have to say, yep, I hear you, and let's try it out, and then just let it go. And you'll be surprised at what you can discover about yourself and your abilities and your skill level, and then you can go in a whole other direction once you've experienced that new thing. And that new thing will take you to additional new things. And as you build your self-confidence, that self-doubt voice is going to become less and less. But boy, if we validate that self-doubt voice, if we're constantly playing into it and giving it attention, that voice doesn't become smaller, it becomes louder. So pretty soon you are literally living in a little square box because you can't give yourself permission to do anything. You are paralyzed. So
Number 10 is being cool. Being cool and always in control.
yeah.
Who knows that one?
So again, as we evolve as adults, we have a wonderful need to be, or feel like we are in, because we never are in control. That's an illusion. Been proven scientifically and otherwise. We are never in control of anything. We learn to flow. We learn to live and be grateful and breathe and embrace what is, regardless of trying to control the circumstances. And the more that we can make peace with that and not feel like we have to be in control of anything, the happier that we find we can become. Because when we have to be in control, we are in anxiety. We are in work mode. We are in, not that work mode's bad, but we're trying, especially when we're trying to control things outside of ourselves. That's an impossible task. You'll never be successful with that. The only thing we can control is our own internal state and our own internal environment. And we set that up to the very best to support us so that we can flow with life and manage everything that's coming at us.
You know how the little song, you know how the song goes that we used to sing when we were little? It was row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. It didn't say row up the stream in a class 5 rapid as hard as you can. It said just flow down the stream. Again, life is going to present us with many moments of stimulus, situations, events, circumstances. You know, that's just life. I don't sense that that's stopping anytime soon. But being vulnerable and just reaching out to someone significant in your life, if you have, and saying, you know what, gosh, help me understand, help me navigate this, help me, we always think that there's some kind of badge of honor when we should be doing it ourselves. That's the power of many reasons, but why else, what better way to leverage your partner? Let him or her help you. Many times they're standing by, but we can't be a mind reader. Even if we know our partner really well, there's some times where I guarantee you, Stacy doesn't know what I'm thinking. She doesn't, nor do I know what she's thinking. Because even as well as we feel like we're deeply connected, we have these weird badges of honor. So let those go. Because I can say with I would never say, please don't share that with me now. If you truly love someone and want to connect with them and be there, a unified force together, then you stand together. And very rarely are we ever both at the same time challenged. So that's the beautiful thing of a partnership as well, is typically one of you might be working through something, the other one is good, they're flowing. So, leverage against that. Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing of a partnership.
And not having to always be cool and not always having to be in control leads you to my personal favorite space of the ability to be playful and to embrace laughter and song and dance. It's like when you can let the control go and just play and be and experience life right now in this moment. That is truly where human beings soar.
Well, that's the little child in all of us, right?
The little child in all of us.
That's the little child. And we have that's the little child in all of us that we forget. And it's taught out of us, let's be an adult now. BS. Get back to being that little child as fast as you can. Do not pass go. As quick as you can.
Stay there. And those experiences, there's a wonderful mantra from a course of family counseling that said, a family that plays together stays together. And I would ascertain that we can say that in our relationships too. A partnership that plays together stays together. Because you're creating meaningful, deep connection and incredibly joyful memories and moments. And if you think back in your life, even when you were first getting together perhaps, if you haven't had an opportunity to play recently in your partnership, you're going to remember all the things you did while you were dating and all the incredible time and focus and intention and energy that you put on that. And you were playing, you were experiencing, you were sharing.
All these new experiences, new things, and now it's put on the shelf. Don't do that.
There's no badge of honor or reward that comes from that. Be you.
So we have a great frolic that's going to take you right out of that program. Why don't you tell them about the frolic?
Yeah, I got to tell you about the frolic.
Frolic. Remember, we have a Friday fun frolic. We have a Friday at 4 for 45, and we have a Friday fun frolic that always goes behind the FFF. We call that FFF.
And it's listed in the Leave Behind. So if you need the Leave Behind, you're watching this, you've come across this video from our YouTube channel, and you're not part of our FFF community, please go ahead and go to our website at lisaonlove.com, and you will see the FFF tab. If you click on that tab, you can go ahead and fill it out, and then we will send you the Leave Behind with all the instructions, as well as all the show notes and all of the material that we've discussed and talked about today.
And when we interview various people at times where all their information will be there as well. So we really want it to be a very, very comprehensive, nothing to sell, just adding value, adding richness to this wonderful dance that we call partnership.
Yes.
So absolutely. this session or this FFF frolic challenged the heck out of me.
So we call it Frolic Movie Night.
Frolic Movie Night.
And it's a movie night in a whole new way. We all know what it's like to get some movies and some popcorn and hang out with your significant someone and watch some movies. Well, we're going to do the same thing on our frolic. However, the movies that you're going to be watching are you individually.
You're starring in. You're starring in your own movie.
You're starring in the movie. So each of you come up with a story. It can be a childhood story. I've given you some suggestions on the leave behind, but it could be a childhood story this year, very easy to act out, or it could be your favorite sitcom. If you want to do an episode from Seinfeld or a scene from Liar Liar or Jim Carrey's movie.
And remember, you're not going to be nominated for an Academy Award.
No,
I'm telling you, and I'm only saying that because I took like 27 takes on this thing. It really challenged me more than Stacy loves to do this to me. So all I can say is, please come back after you watch me.
Well, and we didn't post us on there.
Oh,
We've done
thank
the
God.
activity. We didn't post anything on there because this is vulnerable. This is intimate.
It's very vulnerable.
This is something that needs to be sacred between the two of you, but it can bring so much joy.
It is in an archive somewhere, though.
Yes, it is.
Ours is.
So after you've decided on your story, I encourage you to gather some props that kind of enhance it, wigs or outfits or props that you can hold in your hand. And then your partner says, okay, take, and you launch into your story, tell your story, and then you switch, and the person that's recording and is now acting, and then you get your popcorn, you get your drinks, you sit back, and you watch together the two movies that you've created independently. It's a blast. Have fun. Do it. It'll stretch you. You're going to notice and have some wonderful conversation. It's going to bring up communication and conversation around these topics that we're talking about in regards to vulnerability, about the self-doubt and the anxiety and the fear and just being yourself and fully expressed. And it'll create an incredible connection and memory and experience. You'll remember this one, I promise.
And really along that line is, as in anything, unless we become participatory in what it is we're advocating, believe me, we do every one of them. I mean, the beautiful thing about this work, there's many things, but we're working this and we're dancing with life just like everyone else is. So these what do we call these? These frolics challenge me unbelievably, and
we do them right alongside of you. We don't just make these up and
throw
them out. We
do them. We actually do them, and so I'm imparting and really challenging you as much as we all love. It's like anything. Oh, that sounds great. But no, just really take it upon yourself to do them and just watch, stretch yourself. It's all designed who cares what happens? Just do something different.
And on that note, we make sure that we want to remind you we'd love to hear from you and your experiences in doing it. Please reach out and share with us. You can find us on our website. You can connect with us. You can also find us on Facebook at Lisa on Love. We also would love to hear any questions that you would like to have us ask on the show that you want answers to. So don't hesitate to send us a question, share with us how your frolic played out, or any ahas that perhaps come to you after watching some of our frolics at 4. It's a pleasure to be here. We thank you so much for your time and spending this time with us.
So remember, there's really 3 important things we always want to leave with. Number 1, relationships are meant to tingle your toes.
Tell somebody you love them today.
And have fun, do it. Stretch yourself. Remember, get outside the normal. Really stretch yourself. Be creative. Acknowledge and honor the people that are important to you.
And remember that relationships are meant to tingle your toes. And if it's not, then do something about it.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.